A difference I found between French sporting culture and Canadian sporting culture is hi, my name's Ryan. I'm a gymnast. My Courage project for 2026 is speaking more openly about sport. I genuinely didn't know what I was going to talk about today, hence why this video is so late and the lighting's bad. But what I want to talk about is some differences in French and Canadian sporting cultures that I've noticed, and this particularly came up today. One thing I noticed when I moved here right away was that at training it was very intense, and that I found in Canadian sporting culture we had longer practices, it was more casual, and that it's definitely more about camaraderie or finding your people or having a safe space, and I think that's incredible. But here I find it's very much about you're there to train. On the flip side of that here is they value vacation and time off and having a total identity out of sport so much more. So here every couple of months they have 2 weeks off of school, and then for the first week we get the week completely off of training, and then we can have a training camp the second week if we choose to, but it's not mandatory. And then in the summer we have a training camp for the first 2 weeks, and then we get the rest of the summer off if we want to. So we can train somewhere else or we can do whatever, but we get those 6-7 weeks off if we want it. And I know that's not the same for every club. That's what it is for my club. I found it a lot easier to go in and have an intense training for a shorter amount of time, but then you get to leave a little bit earlier. You're not spending your whole evening at the gym. You can totally have a life outside of training at home in Canada. The culture is very much like you train 3 hours, you also get a social life out of it. I always found, and it was no pressure from my coach or my club, that going on vacation when I was young really stressed me out because I didn't want to miss training, and that it was hard to take time off in the summer. I didn't want to take time off at Christmas. I didn't want to go home for Thanksgiving. It was all these things that I was willing to sacrifice because I really wanted to train, whereas here it's not an option. There just isn't training. So the main big difference I've noticed is people having an identity completely out of sport, and that they are very fulfilled in their lives outside of that. And that in Canadian culture, we kind of mix our social life with our sporting life. And I think there's value to both, but it's just a different way to look at it. And it's kind of what you place value on. So do you place value on spending 3 hours with your friends in a gym every day, or do you place value on finishing your training really quick so you can go hang out with your friends? I don't know that one's right and one's wrong, but so I'd love to hear what cultural differences you know of or you've heard of and what you think about them. See ya.